Apologies for any background noise, my dog is right down here chewing something. But I want to tell you about a time, about a year ago, where my car got stolen. It was awful. We were on our way to a wedding, and we were running late, as we often are for weddings, and because we were in such a rush, we parked in a really dodgy car park area. I left my bag with all my overnight stuff, including my keys and my purse, in the front seat, and the car was locked, but because we ran off and left it there and my bag was in the front seat, I'm pretty sure it was an easy target. And so in between the wedding and the reception, when James went to move the car, it was no longer there. And I complained a lot. Not only was it the car getting stolen and the money for that and having to find a new car, it was having to replace all my cards, it was having to replace all of our stuff. My favourite Star Wars t-shirt is gone forever and it doesn't exist anymore. That is possibly the biggest heartache of the whole thing. And I was just complaining about everything, and I was absolutely gutted, absolutely miserable, until I spoke to my neighbour, who in the same week had not only lost his car, he'd got in a car accident. So he'd written off his car in the process, same boat as me, but then he had also been really badly injured. He had to miss work, and his boss was also being really funny about the fact he had to miss work. So then he was looking for a new job as well. He had 3 kids to support. I think in the same week his uncle had also died, or something personal had happened. And I just thought to myself, wow, Chloe, your problems are not real problems. Like, in the grand scheme of things, you've just lost your car. You're going to have to shift some finances around. Maybe the insurance won't pay out, but maybe you'll just have to put some things off that you were hoping to do earlier. But it's not a big deal. You were in no way in position of this guy. Chill out. And that did work for a little while, where I was trying to get some perspective. But I just couldn't help it. I couldn't help but still be miserable, but then also feel guilty that I shouldn't be as miserable because this guy had it far worse. And I was actually talking to Becca about it. She was saying, how are you doing? And I said, well, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, you should hear what happened to my neighbour. And I told her the whole thing, and she said, that is sad, but what happened to you is still sad. You still get to be sad about it. And obviously, classic Becca-led wisdom. But I think at the moment we're all in this position where Becca even said in one of her talks recently that we're not all in the same boat, but we are in the same storm. And so some of us are in a way more privileged position than other people. Some of us are in boats that are a lot more comfortable than the boats other people are in. But we're still dealing with some really difficult things. Some of us are trying to teach our kids at home. Some of us are dealing with like mental health challenges. Some of us are, it's just stressful not being able to buy eggs anywhere, and that's okay to be annoyed about those things. And I think when you look at places like Calcutta that was hit by a cyclone last week, on top of all the coronavirus stuff they're having to deal with, you can suddenly, it puts your situation in perspective, and rightly so. But at the same time, it doesn't make your situation any easier just because theirs is harder. If you break your leg and someone else breaks 2 legs and an arm, yes, they're in a worse position than you, but that doesn't stop your leg from hurting. And so I just wanted to say to you this morning that, yes, we should acknowledge that for many of us, we are in a position of privilege. Yes, we should have perspective, and yes, we should pray for those who are in a really tricky situation at the moment, but that doesn't mean that we're not also in a tricky situation. That just because someone else has it worse than you doesn't mean that your problems are not real problems. The world is not one giant game of misery top trumps and only the person with the highest card gets to be sad. And so this morning I would encourage you to, yes, acknowledge your privilege and acknowledge that you have it easier than a lot of people, but also acknowledge that everyone has their stuff that they're dealing with at the moment, and that includes you. So your problems are real problems. Be sad, grieve, lament, ask God for help, but also, while you're holding that in one hand, hold others in your hand as well, and pray for those people and grieve for their situation, because your problems are real problems, even if someone else has it worse. I hope that's helpful. Have a good day.